responsibilities of men as for us as men.
The chief of his family.
No, let's not see. You know the interesting
The chief
thing
of
is,
the family.
I went to a primary school where Ambassador will tell you in the olden days in Western we only had 4 desks in a class and the rest of us sat on the floor. And only the extremely bright ones sat on the desks. And the teacher will come in and the bright ones will sing 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 2, 4. Yeah? But those of us like me were sitting behind on the stones. So then we realized we had to participate in the lesson. So we formed a way of humming. So that when the front ones will be singing 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 2, 4. Us will only be adding bass. So we'll only be doing and the teacher will be convinced we were participating. One day he realized we were just making noise. So he asked the front ones to keep quiet. So they found me leading the chorus behind. I was beaten so bad that now I don't believe in choruses anymore. So when I ask a question and I hear people say, ask, no, I don't like it. I want someone to raise up their hand and tell them, what are some of the things that men do? What are some of the duties? I don't know why they have chosen
heading the family.
Heading the family.
Yeah.
So by heading the family, you mean?
I'm responsible to take care of them.
You are supposed to take. You're supposed to take care of
My family.
Of your family.
And men who don't do that.
And men who don't do that should be punished.
And by taking care of your family, you mean?
I mean, I supply the necessity.
You supply the necessity.
Yes.
Among some of the key necessities being
food, shelter, clothes, school fees for kids, and everything.
Okay. And according to you as men.
Not only me alone, because he's also a man.
No, you are not. Now everybody. Wait, everybody's carrying their cross.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other duties that are mandated? What are some of the responsibilities? What are some of
the chief of the family?
You are the chief of the family, yes?
Yeah, you have also to provide for your family.
Provide.
To make sure that your family
Yes, I heard you talk about
Take the role of protection.
you protect. Even when a man appears in your house with an AK-47,
You don't wake up the woman.
when you have nothing to defend yourself, you protect.
Yeah.
Okay? You protect. The
Because
woman.
that man will only target you. He will not target the woman.
No, but what if he's coming in your house to get your wife and daughter?
You have to protect.
That's something else.
Protect, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So what are some of the other duties of what are some of the responsibilities of a lady? Gracious. What are some of the duties? The homemaker. So by a homemaker you mean?
Probably cook food, clean the house, take care of the kids.
Those are the duties of a lady, yeah? Anything else?
Nothing.
Yeah.
What are some of the duties of a lady? A woman, a lady. Homemaking, isn't it? You see, just from the statements we have made here, just from the original thinking that we made here, it's very right for me to assume that I have very good students that need to go through my lesson. Because we are all wearing 2 different hats. We are all wearing a hat of socialization and we are wearing the hats of patriarchy. Women in this room are socialized to believe they are inferior. And men, men are socialized to assume they are superior. The role of a man is to protect, to provide, to secure. The role of a woman is to cook, to achieve and everything. Yet, we are the top echelon of society. That tells you how pervasive gender inequality has been in our societies. That's my submission. And listen to this. 15 years ago, my mother used to give birth to twins. So my mother gave birth to twins 6 times. So 6 times my mother gave birth to twins, and 6 times she gave birth to girl, boy, 6 times. And 14 years ago, my twin sister Rosaline, who was a nurse, came visiting in the village. And because she was 25 years old and had not gotten married, she got gang raped by boys in the village because they thought she had grown too old. She got gang raped and got killed. And then I was, my profession a journalist, was practicing journalism, then at the Nation Center. The people in my village said that it was okay for the price of a woman, if you kill a woman, you give out 14 cows. It's called the head of a woman. And so my people in the village said that it was okay, and my clan was saying, we know these boys, they're just rogues, they're going to, and yeah, and sadly, even my own father told me that let's let your sister peacefully rest. They have killed her, we can't get her back. I refused. And engaged the police. 3 of the guys who had raped her are now serving life imprisonment. And then that's when I realized that this gender discussion, that this equality and gender discussion is different when you become a witness or a part of the person who has suffered. I don't know why I get emotional every time, but I've been telling this story for 15 years. Yes, so when you have lost your own sister and your own family turns up against you and you sacrifice your own profession. I sacrificed journalism to start the Coexist initiative 15 years ago. And I went back to my editor and told my editor, I'm so pained by the death of my sister that I'm sacrificing my entire life to stand up with men, to tell men it's not right. To tell men that the way we are socialized as men is not right, that we have to change. That these women that we are abusing, that society and the communities tell us to abuse, affects even us men. And so I went back to the editor then. I had you mention the name. Somewhere when we were having, Ambassador, when we were having a meal, you said, no, he doesn't write a lot of articles. He doesn't write a lot of books, he only writes articles.
William,
and we had the privilege of sitting around those desks.
Philip, okay.
Yes, and went back and told boss, I'm resigning, and I want to start an organization. He said, Wafula, move on. Your sister has died. Move on. Don't mourn your sister for too long. Don't spoil your career. And he gave me a headline the following day. The second banner story in the article said, a group of battered men meet in the city. They didn't understand. He said for a man to accept to do this, he has not to understand. The story ends up with me going into women's organization to say, as men, we want to stand up and fight for the rights of women, and now men. They couldn't understand. They would tell us, we don't want men here. And then we'll go to men and say, let's behave well to our ladies. And let's change these traditions and customs and socialization processes that are allowing societies to continue justifying the continued use of violence against women and now men and against vulnerable groups. Nobody understood. So for 5 years, we went without any funding, any support. Because nobody believed. You sit to Adon and they say, you are sick. Men will never change. African men will not change. And African men will never change. And African women will not change. And my sister, one of my sisters, who is one of the top researchers, now my sister Carol, one of the top researchers in this country. The other day I went to her house and she had a black eye. And I said, Carol, what's wrong with your black eye? What do you have a black eye? She said, oh, the lights went out. She's a whole PhD holder. And then she has a small husband, short husband like this, who said, let's go and buy you a drink. After 3 drinks, he got excited. I started saying, that sister of yours, I started having bad manners. I smashed her yesterday, I beat her yesterday. So then it made me even more sad. That this is my sister who has a PhD and having the best job and can go to all the universities, can tolerate violence. Okay? Can tolerate violence. And this man who is supposed to be one of the county commissioners, deputy county commissioners, who is supposed to implement laws and legislations around protecting the law, isn't it? Is the one who perpetuates it. So we have a problem, and so it's not as tiny as we think, because in big forums like this we trivialize. We say gender-based violence, sexual violence. It's not a big deal. Can you imagine a man who has been socialized to assume that he's superior? Because societies teach us to be superior, isn't it?
Which society?
Societies.
Which one?
I don't know which one you come from.
I come from the US.
The mind is complicated.
Yeah.
Yes, the mind is complicated because it's a mixture of very many. Societies, if we are accepted to have these communities, teach men. I don't know which community you come from that teaches men to be equivalent to women. Which one?
No, it's the opposite.
Yes.
My father would reprimand me if I entered the kitchen.
Yeah, man, I know we're even going to go worse.
Yeah.
Not even cooking,
No,
entering
the kitchen.
Okay? And all the village will beat you to hell if they saw you carrying firewood.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they would even think you are something abnormal if you are seen wearing something that looked like it was a woman's shoe. So we are all supposed to be, we are born and endowed to be different. And women accept subservience. So can you imagine, out of all those worst situations, add a weapon? Can you imagine? Add a weapon. Apart from a man who is socialized to be self-destructive. You know, there are things that we as men do that are self-destructive. Ambassador, you'll agree. They will tell us, for example, I'll give you an example. They will tell us in the villages back in Western where I come from, and even where you come from, they will say you cannot eat a banana. In the villages, you cannot eat a banana with its skin, peel. So peel it. It means don't use protection when you're having sex. The danger? The danger?
You get it.
The danger is HIV/AIDS. They tell us, oh, you are strong men. As to be a man with one wife is like a man with one eye.
Like a motorcycle.
They say a man with one wife is like a motorcycle. They can't even see far at night. You need 2 eyes or 3 to see, isn't it? The result, it's polygamy. It is other relationships, and we cannot raise our children. So it has an effect on us. They say, as a man, I'll get what I want. I'll beat you and you can take me to prison. 80% of people who occupy prisons in Kenya and in Africa are men. Okay? I have friends of mine who have bought a fast car and they have died in the same car. Why? Because their car is supposed to be knowing home when they're drunk and driving. Okay? Yeah. Because we are men. The car should know home. So we die out of so many. Today I was driving here. I saw about 6 accidents. The whole road was full of blood. Men who drank themselves stupid and were going up country. So even as men, this thing about gender-based violence worsens, affects us, only that society has programmed us not to accept that it destroys us. They will even tell you, as a man, I was listening to radio coming here and women were complaining, oh, my husband comes home at 3 a.m. in the morning. That is the essence. We are paying the price for bad masculinity. So, we are here to talk about the interlink between gender-based violence and the availability of arms. We all know. I have been to Mount Elgon during when, those of you who come from this region, when we had a Sabot Land Defense Force. And I sat with the Council of Elders who said, we have gotten guns from South Sudan, and those guns are going to be available to boys, but we must be able to humiliate those women, those people, by raping their daughters. We counted, together with the Kenya Human Rights Commission, over 1,000 rapes in hardly 2 weeks. Women were being raped before their husbands and children, but with guns and arms pointed at them. Some of them were even killed. During the post-election violence, as much as not many guns were used in Kenya, close to 3,000 women were raped. So my submission is that gender-based violence is sort of a motivational factor during times of conflict. That when there's disagreement, you'll realize that women and children and girls, but now even with boys, at Coexist we have a hotline number, which records, we are using this Indian technology called Red Dot, which is a technology that is a number that's available on your mobile phone if you are within Nairobi and Kitengela area. It's going to be tested now. You use 500, and it will give us real time where you are, your location. That number will link where you are to the police who are around you and to all the service providers, because it's supposed to record sexual violence cases. In the last 3 weeks alone, about 150 cases have been reported, 100 of which have been sexual violence to young boys, and they're using arms, they're using bullets, they're using guns. So such gender-based violence is no longer an issue to do with girls only. And when we are talking about gender, gender is not necessarily a man against a woman. What you people were defining to me was something else from gender is a socialization process, a collection of social norms, of the things that you believe in. Because these days, we have people who are neither women or men. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
They are not women and they are not men. So what gender are they? So you either have to define yourself as male or female. But don't say I'm a man or I'm a woman, because the way your orientation you choose. You can choose to be a man. You can have. It's only you who got the femininity aspect. But that aspect is also shared by men. You have boys who are going to display the same characteristics you're displaying. Hello,
Yeah.
how are you? And they're men.
Yeah.
So would you say that is and you're going to have women who look at you and you look away because they look more bullish than everybody. Another one looked at me like this. I said, I'm sorry. Even before I had said anything. Does that make her look like a lady? So this, gender is the things, the social norms that you've put in your head. And that's why when we tell people that boys are also being subjected to gender-based violence, they say no. But boys in conflict zones are being raped. In the conflict zone, the ambassador in Tana River, in Peketoni and other places, over 70 boys who have been reported to have been gang raped by Al-Shabaab militants. So the militants are also walking in and using boys, sexually abusing boys, especially those who come from alternative religions. Okay? So when we're talking about gender-based violence, we're talking gender, there's a terrible disconnect. There's a direct link between gender-based violence and the availability of arms, and especially the illegal ones. But in Africa, we are facing a problem. And I want to say this here. I don't know how this will go down. The truth is, we are having so many illegal arms. A few months ago, I was sitting in my little hut in the village in Western, and one of my uncles appeared to me and said, "What do you walk with?" I said, "I walk with 2 feet." "What do you mean? And what do I drive an old car?" But then he said, "No, as a man, you should have your walking stick. Which type do you want?" I didn't understand. I had to ask my mother. I said, "My uncle is asking that I have a walking stick. What does he mean?" He said, "No, here everybody has a walking stick. Go and ask him to bring you one tomorrow." I went and told my uncle, "Bring me one walking stick tomorrow." The following day, he came with an old bicycle, and he had a big sack on his bicycle like this. I didn't know. Then he told me, "Let's go to your house." We went to my house. He had carried every type of gun you can find.
Oh.
It was so available. That uncle of mine cannot afford a soda, but he can afford to have a collection of guns in a sack like this. And he could carry them, he has carried them like 40 kilometers of riding a bicycle. And
Nobody stopped him.
Nobody stopped him. He walked through every police station, nobody stopped him. In fact, I had a feeling some of the guns were